what I ended up doing is finding out about Carrot, switched over to Carrot, put some Craigslist ads, followed those first, few things. At this time, I think I had already closed a deal through direct mail, but within a week, I had got a lead from Carrot. A week later, or really 2 weeks or so later, that deal ended up closing, made 30 grand. That started that kind of Carrot experience.
Helping hardworking real estate investors, agents, and entrepreneurs grow a better business, mindset, and future. This is the Carrot Cast podcast. Now here's your host, Trevor Mock.
What's up, y'all? Got an amazing episode of the Carrot Cast from a recent Carrot camper and Instagram buddy turned real buddy now. And I'm excited to introduce you guys to Tyler here in a second. But one of the things that I want you guys to really pay attention to during this episode of the Carrot Cast, because there's a couple things. So number one, we're going to go through Tyler's story like we always do. I love the entrepreneur story. I love figuring out what were the shifts, the mindset shifts, what were the things that weren't working, and what did you do to get over them? But also, he's also made an additional shift as he's really grown and scaled and made his real estate investing business really successful. He also has a software company, essentially made what he is doing in his business available to other people. So we're going to be digging into how he uses REI Sift, a software that he had a chance to give us a demo here at Carrot Camp. And I think everybody, dude, when you're doing your presentation at Carrot Camp, everyone's like, he's insanely smart. I have no clue what he's trying to teach us, but we need to go work with him because his software definitely does this amazingly smart stuff. And so we'll dig into some of that because it's next level. But I want to welcome as a first-time guest, but many-time listener to the Carrot Cast, Mr. Tyler Austin. Thanks for coming aboard, man. Dude,
thank you so much, man. I'm super excited. I got my Carrot water. I'm ready. I'm hydrated. I'm ready to talk, and I look forward to providing as much value as I can.
Dude, you got the Carrot water bottle. And for those of you that are watching the YouTube version of this, if you're just listening to the podcast version of it, go to YouTube, find us Carrot on YouTube. You got the Carrot sticker, and dude, you got your little magnet up there from Carrot Camp.
Yeah, I got it right above our ninja.
I love it. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit of Carrot Camp. Actually, let's start there. We'll do the full intro, and so people can get to know you here in a second. But dude, so you were just out here, a couple months ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago, out here in the middle of Oregon. Towards the end of, hopefully it's the end of pandemic season, a week or two after like these major fires were ravaging all of Oregon. And man, it was an amazing week. So let's kind of start there, dude. Carrot Camp, what were some highlights for you? What were some things that you came away with that you weren't expecting?
Man, Carrot Camp, and I feel like, you don't want to sound like a broken horse, but when so many people say it, it's not about being a broken horse. It's just about being the truth, right? And like when you leave Carrot Camp, like there's so much rejuvenation. Like it's not just about business, it's about it's not just about real estate, I should say. It's about business, it's about like impact, it's about, your life in general and relationships. So, I mean, Carrot, I think like some of the biggest takeaways for me were, kind of more so your story, like being that, I have the software company, I have the real estate company. Where do I want to fit between the two of them? How does that affect me in my life? I came back and just a couple weeks ago or last week, I found out, my wife's pregnant with our second kid. And like, how does that now and the shifts that we're looking to do, I kind of reflect back on Carrot Camp and like, what is kind of local impact and I think that's the biggest thing I took away is like, I need more local impact. Like there's so much more that I could be doing. And I've made excuses up to this point why, I haven't been creating a local impact because, my wife's still active duty and we could PCSing and leaving somewhere else. And so why would I do anything? And so we had some conversations about that. And so that was a really big thing for me. The networking is fantastic. And I don't know, it's just like I'm not a huge fan of carrot juice, but it was good to wake up in the morning, before the workouts. But in general, man, it's like a rejuvenation. It's one of those things where you're not going there. You're going there to learn, but more than anything, you're going there to like get more purpose in what you're doing. And I think that's like even better than just learning.
Dude, I love it. So guys, you guys probably caught Tyler say carrot juice there, and he's not talking about like the proverbial carrot juice drinking. We're talking about real carrot juice. I showed up in the morning, and I didn't do this the last Carrot Camp, but I'm like, the night before I was driving by the grocery store. I'm like, I'm going to go in and buy a bunch of carrot juice. And so at the store here, Safeway, they've got the big, I think it's like Bolt House Farms or something like that, like a half a gallon of just pure carrot juice. And I showed up in there and made every single person. No one bowed out of it. I've even made my employees do it
Yep.
many times, and they even took one for the team. But everyone took a shot of carrot juice. It was fun. Everyone was great sports, and I can't drink it because I'm allergic to carrots. So I was out of that one, which was
Yeah,
totally fine by me.
it was kind of funny because a couple of us we leave in the morning and someone had texted me and was like, "Hey, we're gonna do a run. We're gonna run to Carrot Camp this
Mm,
morning." I'm like, "Okay." So we're gonna go from the hotel, run there. I'm thinking because based off what you guys were saying, I haven't been to the loft yet, but the loft is
yeah.
only like not too far away from the hotel. By not too far away, which really meant was like 3 miles, and just around the corner in Oregon is I guess a little bit longer than for me like around the corner to the Jiffy.
Yeah.
Um, so and I thought like everybody was, and then only being like two of us, and me being the third, and we ran there, and I was like, man, like I'm in Florida. I'm not used to like elevation
Oh
or the
yeah.
air, and I'm like, dude, I'm normally like a runner in general, and that thing kicked my butt. So I got there, and then as soon as I walked in, you guys started, and then I took the carrot juice and I don't know, man. It's like it's one of those things in psychology. They talk about flashbulb memories. Things that you think back on, and you can taste it, you can feel it, and you're
Mm,
kind of present in it.
mm-hmm.
And just that right there is kind of like adding that little bit of extra sensation, if you will, of the taste of the carrot juice. Just kind of
Mm.
adds to that experience. So I
I
do
love it.
appreciate.
I love it, dude. Well, let's kind of go back, introduce people to you because you've got an amazing background. You're an amazing entrepreneur. So, Tyler owns a couple companies. Y'all like I talked, he has a software company that pretty much took what he's doing in his real estate business to scale it, called REI Sift. We'll talk about a lot of those marketing methods he's using that are insanely smart and stuff that is pretty advanced stuff, but his software makes it easier. And then he uses Carrot a lot to really scale his business. We were talking right before we hit record here. He has a couple big deals that have recently closed that came from SEO, and he's running Facebook ads. So we'll kind of talk about how he's leveraging Carrot. But Tyler, toss back to you, man. So why don't you give the elevator pitch of like kind of who are you? What are your businesses? Where are you from? And kind of what's your home life look like? You mentioned you're married. You have one on the way. Just kind of give people a good overall look on who Tyler Austin is.
Yeah, so what I've liked to start doing when I kind of like intro myself is I like to start with my mission, and
Cool.
I kind of got that from Carrot Camp. And so I came up with a mission. I've thought about like who am I and what is it that I really want to do in this world based off my history, my past, my childhood, and all that kind of stuff. And what I came up with is two simple words: eliminate despair.
Mm, mm,
My goal in life is to eliminate despair in not only businesses but also personal lives. So there's some things that I'm doing, locally in the community, kind of, bolster that mission now. And outside of that, my personal life, like you said, I got a wife, been married 10 years this
mm.
year. I got married when I was
Congrats.
like just hit 18. I actually technically married not my wife, someone. I was in training at the time. I was Air Force, and you had to have someone there to stand in place of your wife because my wife wasn't there. So I technically married one of my buddies that I went through basic training with. So there's photos out there of me marrying him, technically. So those can be misconstrued, but
That's funny.
yeah. So I have a 5-year-old daughter, Tessa Ann,
Mm,
and she's super excited to have be a big sister. And I'm in Northwest Florida and Fort Walton Beach, Florida, but most people know Destin, Florida,
mhm,
or Panama City. So my market is between really this Northwest Panhandle and some other locations in Florida. Started Florida Cash Real Estate in 2018. Started REI Sift in 2019. And yeah, I think that's the cliff notes.
cool.
Like I said, I was Air Force. I was an ammo troop. Then I did cybersecurity stuff, some fun stuff there, and then real estate.
Cool. Well, dude, let's kind of talk about that transition because, like you said, you're in the military, and then somehow you made that leap from cybersecurity, military into real estate, and you're not in an area that doesn't have competition. I mean, there's a good amount of competition where you are.
Yeah.
We have a good amount of customers in that area, and the cool thing is, dude, like you haven't been with us for 5 or 6 years, right? You just started real estate a couple of years ago, and you're able to go in, execute the plan, and get really, really great results out of your overall business in a really quick amount of time. And so let's kind of go back to that part of it, man. So you're in the military, you're looking at making some sort of a shift or move. Where did real estate kind of come into the picture there for you?
Yeah, so for me, it actually started kind of like when I was a little bit younger. As far as like real estate in general, like kind of the bug, if you will. I
Mm,
had this like dream when I was younger to go live in Alaska and buy a cabin and like stay there forever,
mm,
and like buy properties and live in the middle of nowhere and be able to do it for nothing essentially.
yeah.
And then ironically, my first duty station was Alaska, but I got sent to a place I didn't know existed into Alaska, which is like an hour below the North or the Arctic Circle, in a place right next to legitimately North Pole, Alaska.
Mm,
And the first summer there, an airman, it's like -80, and or the first winter rather, it's like -80 outside. And I'm looking at these houses, and I'm looking at my wife just got there, and I realized that I make like $600 a month as an airman. I can't afford these $350,000 houses that are in Alaska.
yep.
Um, so I put a pause on it there for a long time. Got to North Dakota, and in North Dakota, I bought my first house.
Mm,
Initially, before I bought my first house, I was trying to find a house to live in and do house hacking. So I just wanted to live in one side, have someone else pay for the rent or the mortgage, and do that. But it was very difficult. The flood just came through there just a year prior to me being there, and North Dakota had this big flood in Minot, North Dakota.
mhm,
And so all the prices were insane. The oil industry was booming. They're building these, massive hotels or really apartments, and anything that was available, it was like gone. So I started just like going to these duplexes and trying to reach out to the owners to try and figure out if I could buy their house to live in,
mm,
but they were wanting way more. And I was just doing the math between if it never ended up to where the rent from the other person would pay my mortgage.
yep.
And that's what I wanted. So I would just refer those to an agent. He would, was like a Longhorn, or there was this, it wasn't Longhorn, it was some other steak restaurant that was in Minot, and he would get me, basically a dinner there. And that was how that transaction happened. Little did I know later that would be a form of kind of like bird dogging, if you will,
Ah,
but
yeah, yeah.
not really in the most profitable way. So anyway, but I ended up buying my first house 2 years later. I had already been out the military now. My wife was still in. My house that I just bought that was brand new. The builder, one man basically built it. It flooded. It was tons of issues. I put a little bit more of like sweat equity in it by putting a heater in the garage, putting a fence in the back, some things that I knew the spouses would really like moving here. Ended up breaking even. I think I made like $1,500 2 years later on it. And I realized that like um, buying those types of properties is not the way to like do anything,
Mhm,
unless maybe you're a developer or something like that. So once I got out, we came to Florida, and I was like, okay, now I have a government job. I'm no longer in the military. We're stateside, so we can stay here for a long time, hopefully. And we have been. My wife hasn't got orders or nothing like that, and that's when I decided to really start focusing on real estate. So I did some Googling. I heard of wholesaling, and I was like, that I thought it was illegal. I was like, there's no way that I could be doing that, making checks and stuff until I was listening to Bigger Pockets one time, and it's actually a customer of yours, Ariane and Chris Lemire.
yep.
They own GH houses here locally.
Mm,
And I was like, oh, wow, they're locally in my market. They're doing it. So, I should be able to as well. At this time, I had a 50% travel job. Like I had a clearance, so there was no bringing my phone in the building, or while I was on engagements or nothing like that. So yeah, so it was really difficult kind of getting started with that. But yeah, that's kind of like when I introed into it, listened to Bigger Pockets, found out about it, got the kind of security or know how, ended up joining a local meetup. And in that process, when I learned about them, I was actually like starting to kind of like dabble a little bit. I had started coding my own website. Actually, it's
mm,
just kind of like funny because I spent 6 months basically at night whenever I wasn't out traveling, like programming this website. I had this huge vision. I was like, I'm going to make this into like a website where my buyers can come in, they can have their own portal. They can even give me their money through there. I had no idea what I was doing. I just, wanted to build something. And then I launched it and everything, and I realized like it wasn't really doing anything.
Mm.
I sent it out there and people would go to it. But it was at the time, it didn't have no back end or nothing.
Yep.
And what I ended up doing is finding out about Carrot, switched over to Carrot, put some Craigslist ads, followed those first, few things. At this time, I think I had already closed a deal through direct mail, but
Mm-hmm.
within a week, I had got a lead from Carrot, and a week later, or really 2 weeks or so later, that deal ended up closing, made 30 grand. And then, that started that kind of Carrot experience. So,
Dude,
um,
I love it, man. So I want to reverse on some of that stuff there. So
yeah,
number one, you were inspired by that couple on Bigger Pockets, which is amazing. So that got you to have the confidence. Amazing. Thank you, Pete. So you were mentioning Pete and Levi. They just brought me back some pizza just now. So thank you, Pete. I love it, man.
very nice.
So you were inspired by them and you jumped out there, did your first deal with direct mail. And dude, that's really common. Like Brian Rockwell, as an example, he's been a Carrot Camp a couple times. He did his first deal driving for dollars. And then he would hand write direct mail to people. Once he got the first deal done, then he realized he doesn't want to do that anymore long-term. And so then he went, what's kind of more sustainable long-term? Evergreen. You built your own site, then found Carrot and decided, hey, I should probably just save time and go with something proven. But that first deal, you'd mentioned Craigslist leads. Is that where that first deal came from, was posting stuff on Craigslist, or did it come from somewhere else?
My first Carrot deal, was from Craigslist. I posted
Mm.
it, and within a couple of days, actually a really sad story in general, but it's
Mm.
actually the same exact deal that made me the next day after we closed it, go in and quit my government job.
Mm.
And it's just from Craigslist. And to like 2 a.m. that morning, she called me at like 9 o'clock in the morning. It was kind of like almost like fate, in a way. It was like I was walking out of a secure building, just grabbed my phone, put it in my pocket, walk into another secure building, and halfway through the parking lot, my phone started ringing, and I was like, I'm just going to
Mm.
pick it up. I picked it up, and it was this 83-year-old, elderly woman. And she started off with, I just lost my son last night.
Oh
I'm
man.
like, and I was like, I didn't really know what to say, and I was like, okay, you need help with anything? I didn't like ask why. I just want to know if there's anything, that she need help with. And she's like, well, I'm calling you because I need to sell his house.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, maybe we can call a little bit later. I'm sure you have some stuff you got to take care of. She's like, no, this is like really important.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, well, tell me about a little bit what's going on. And then she told me, well, I lost him last night at 2:30 in the morning. And this property, essentially, he was taken advantage of, and there's like 18 or 20 people living there,
Mm.
and there's this whole scenario. So in that deal, I ended up having to evict, ended up being 18 people from the
Oh my
property.
God. There's got to be a
Yeah.
record in there somewhere, man.
Yeah. It's crazy
Evicting
because it's
it.
a 600, it's like 530 or 600 square foot house.
Huh.
The electric bill was $850 a month, and the water bill was $650 a month.
Cool.
Yeah. So what they did is they ran piping from the house to these tents in the back into the garage, and they had people sleeping back there. They
Oh
were
man.
running like this, basically drug and brothel operation off this dude's property. He had
Mm.
cancer, and they just took advantage of him. So,
Oh man. Mm.
but yeah, after that deal closed, she came up to me and she hugged me and she said, "I hope you make $1 million from this property."
Mm.
And I was like, "Well, I don't think I'm gonna do that, man, but I appreciate that."
Yep.
So we sold it to a builder, did a double closing for 30 grand. And then the next day signed up for the concierge program.
I love it, dude. So here, I want to drill down into this more because as we've worked more and more with a lot of real estate agents and wholesaling, like you had mentioned a little bit ago, that your first impression was, well, how can that thing work and how can it be legal? Wholesaling, directly selling to an end buyer, like an iBuyer or the mom and pop, house buyers like yourself and the others out there. A lot of real estate agents, if you're listening to this, you really need to understand that there are those creative ways of solving the problems. Because like with that example there, that gal would never have been able to list it on the retail market. Like it just
No.
couldn't have worked. An agent wouldn't have taken it. They wouldn't have taken it with the 18 people and all this crazy stuff going on. And so that's where I'd love for real estate agents to listen to these kind of crazy stories and go, okay, maybe that's not what I couldn't solve that problem through the traditional listing methods, but what if I connect with those local home buyers in my market who can solve these really sticky situations? And as an agent, that's going to be an amazing asset for you, connecting with guys like Tyler, connecting with people like our other customers in your market to figure out this sticky situation that will not work on the MLS well. How do I partner with them? And there might even be an opportunity to share in some way, shape, or form in that deal. And dude, I love it. You got creative selling it to a builder, because then that person went in and probably cleared everything out, all the craziness after you evicted it, and it worked great for everybody. It's a win-win-win. That the mom was, she didn't have to deal with the situation. She was able to get cash in her pocket. She was done with the situation. It worked out for you. Didn't work out for the people that got evicted, the 18, very well,
Yeah,
because they had
that
it
was
made,
crazy.
man.
Yeah,
But
that was intense.
yeah, and it worked out for the builder, and it worked out for the end buyer of the new home that they built. So that's how the real estate market keeps going on these properties. So, dude, let's go to deal number two. So you did that. You then knew you were already with Carrot at that time. That deal came from a Craigslist ad, and then you said, "Man, I want to ramp it up," and you went through our concierge service. So, why number one, why did you do that? I'm just curious myself, like from a sales guy's perspective, why did you do that right after the first deal versus getting a few more deals close?
Well, I mean, I had, a couple months prior, spent 10 grand on direct mail, and, I was traveling and didn't receive like anything from it. Ended up getting some leads, which ended up being, the one I was talking about previous to this one here.
Yep.
But it's like, uh, it's kind of like one of those things when you have success in something, like ultimately, it's my belief that you need to be doubling down on it.
Mm,
If I had a website that wasn't converting and then I switched to a website that is converting, and I know there's tons of other people that are converting there. I always tell myself, like, listen, it's not a matter of if it's possible. It's a matter of, am I willing to do what it takes to kind of do that? And with the concierge program, I could have went through and I could have, set up all the pages and I could have done all that. And I did a little bit of it, but like I'm traveling 50% of the year at this
mm,
time still. And it's not like I'm not technical, like I'm a
yeah.
cybersecurity engineer. It's something I could do, but I value my time with what it is. And for the cost of what it is, it's kind of like, I want to stand out in my market. I want to show that I am, the premier buyer. And by being diversified from the others that are using Carrot in my local market, because I know that's something people always say, well, Carrot website looks like over here versus Carrot website looks over here. It's like, it's not about that. It's about the conversions. It's how do you present yourself on that personally. That's why you guys say to do the testimonials and the switching out the images, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So that's kind of why I wanted it. It's like, for the cost, I just made 30 grand,
Yep.
and it came from a free Craigslist post. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't I? It doesn't make any sense why I wouldn't put that back in my business. So
Yep.
yeah.
I love it, dude. So I want to fast forward a bit, because people are probably wondering kind of where are you now? You've been in it for a couple of years. You obviously have some things working in amazing ways. And let's kind of start with a deal that you were telling me about right before we hopped on here. So you closed a
Yep.
bigger deal. Let's kind of walk through that deal start to finish. Where'd you get the lead? What was the situation with the property? What do the numbers look like? And then after that, I want to kind of break apart your overall business. What does the overall business look like now? Team wise, volume wise, things like that. So people can see the whole progression, man. They saw literally from a Craigslist ad helping someone all the way to where you are now a couple of years later. So let's talk about that deal, the most recent one, break it down, and then we'll dive into your business.
Yeah. So, I'm kind of like the guinea pig for REI Sift users. Kind of funny.
Hmm.
And because we have the real estate company, and they're looking for ways to be able to leverage the things that I use in my business better. So what I did is I initially was doing Facebook ads by myself, and I was like, that's not scalable. I need someone else to manage that for me. So I reached out, and to Silver Street that you guys have on the, I forget what tab that's called. It's like
Yeah, the
the
marketplace.
marketplace, right?
Hmm.
So I reached out to the marketplace, reached out to Silver Street. I said, listen, hey, like I have this concept I want to try. I want to try this methodology of taking, and basically being like a case study of taking these different buckets and segmentations on how we market in my real estate company. But I want to target them on Facebook as another hit, not as like it's kind of just like another way for them to see me.
Hmm.
It's still front of funnel stuff, but it's also more like if they see my postcards, but then they also see me on Facebook, we can have that. So we started doing that. I think we started those in like February or so.
Hmm.
And maybe it was later than that. I think it was second quarter sometime. Nevertheless, we started Facebook ads because I really wanted to continue to give. We're already ranked number one on Google and everything else, but I wanted to continue that pace. And by having that Facebook traffic come in, it really helps, obviously with the SEO and whatnot. So we did that. We got a lead in, and it goes to my lead manager, goes from lead manager up to acquisitions, and then they see that it's a 4,000, it's like 3,500 or 4,000 square foot cabin up north on 26 acres with an acre and a half spring fed pond on it. And I was like, dude, like I'm interested in that,
Yeah.
personally, like, cause that's kind of my gig. And so we got on a call with them and we found out kind of what they owed. I knew what it would probably be worth in general, just because of the nature of what those types of properties go for in my market. Um, and we ended up working it out to where, we asked them kind of what they got going on. What do they plan on doing? Where are they not asking them, what do we need right now, but where are they trying to get to? You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's kind of more of how we do sales. So once we figured out where they're trying to get to, we kind of reverse engineer back from there to figure out the best solution to kind of solve it that best fits us the best and them.
Mhm.
So that ended up being a sub two style deal. It's
Mm.
really kind of a holding the deed, which has a fancy name for it. I don't know. Let the attorneys handle all that. But essentially, we locked up the property for 196,000, which is what they owe on the property. And a week later, they had already had an appraisal in place. A week later, we had the appraisal in place back from them for 440,000
Oh my gosh.
uh, was the appraised value. And it needs between 30 and 50 grand in rehab to get it there. But so that was that deal, and went to the attorney's office. They draft everything up, and we closed on that one. I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Hmm.
It's officially in my name, and I just got to decide now: do I want to live in it and have a bunch of equity, or sell it? But it's kind of just one of those things. It's like I always talk about like having a line in the water. It's like if I wasn't doing Facebook ads, if I wasn't targeting these individuals, and pushing them to that conversion tool, the site itself sold me.
Mm.
There was no sales really there. It was a matter of figuring out what is a solution for them. There wasn't like I was convincing them that I needed to buy their house. I already know they wanted to sell it, and they already know it was us that they wanted to do it with. So it was like a matter of just figuring out what's the best solution. And then that's it. And it's like, because you have the line in the water, it pays for literally all my Facebook ads and everything for the next really 2 years, more
Yep.
than that, for what I spent on Facebook. And, we can continue to build that evergreen kind of traffic.
Dude, so I'm on your site right now, FloridaCashRealEstate.com, and one thing that I noticed, of course, it's not like completely different than a standard site, right? Went through the concierge, we added credibility, we added some kind of visual elements to make you stand out. But one of the things that you mentioned a little bit ago was that they already knew they wanted to sell, but once they landed on the site, they then discovered they wanted to sell to me, and that's the key, y'all. That's what I've been talking about for years. Is number one, at like table stakes these days, you've got to have a website that converts really, really well. And most of them don't. Like most of our competitors, even if they say high converting websites, we've tested against all of them, they don't convert as well. One lost deal a year. In this case, it's a several $100,000 deal there, or 50,000 or 30,000, on a cheaper website. But when I scroll down his site here, you have a really, really good video. It says, hear what others say about your company. Talks about Johnny, has a really good video there with Johnny.
That was a
Um,
crazy deal.
Dude, and you have a really, really good testimonials on the site. You don't have a million of them, but you have really good ones. And it's you with the client, the person smiling. They had a great result. You solve the problem for them. And that's the key, is when people are clicking around, number one, they've got to know, can this company solve my problem? Okay, check the box. Yes, the copy says we buy houses quickly and we can close fast with cash. Number two, how does the process work? So then you've got that. And then number three, it's like, who the heck are they? And are they someone I should trust? And that's where your testimonials come up, your good about page, stuff like that. And then you just find good traffic sources. So let's go back to the traffic source, man. So you were mentioning to people before, you have REI Sift, you have your marketing methods there. It sounds like you're doing direct mail, but then where did that list come from that you started marketing to on Facebook? Was that your direct mail list? Is that where that deal came from, or where did it come from?
Yeah, so we have a methodology that we call it the data buckets,
Mhm.
and the data buckets break apart into equity data, stacked data, um, vacant data, and then what I call ouchies.
Okay.
And essentially, it's a methodology where when you upload all of your data into REI Sift, you filter out these data segmentations, and we just export those. And stacked is always getting direct mail. Vacant, we don't do direct mail. We just cold call and do SMS. But we take all those buckets and we just upload them to Facebook, and then we target those individuals directly. And then the only other thing we do is we do lookalike audiences against those buckets as well.
Mm,
The reason being, especially for the high equity, is like we don't cold call or market to high equity. We don't waste our marketing dollars in that. Like it's a lot of stuff for people that are probably in a better position than 99% of America. So why would we do
mhm.
that? We're focusing really strongly on those individuals that really kind of need our help. And so, as far as the direct mail campaign being in there, it's 100% in there. The people that are seeing us on direct mail, and we have our website on our direct mail pieces as well.
Mm,
So it's like they go to our website, and we're kind of like double tapping them essentially. It's like if they get our direct mail piece and for whatever reason they do type in our URL, they're still going to get us from Facebook because we are doing retargeting as well.
yep.
But they're still going to see all of our other front of funnel ads as well because we're targeting them there. The
Mm,
reason why that's important for me, at least, is there's not 100% chance that Facebook is going to be able to find those individuals, especially if they're a little bit older. Um, you know, uh, to market in front of them.
yep.
But if they go to your URL from your postcard, now it just kind of brings everything full circle. So
Yep.
that's kind of what we do there. And then obviously we still do SMS and cold calling. It's just we only focus those efforts in where we're going to get the most bang for our buck ROI wise.
Dude, so that's so good. So you take the stacked list, which the stacked list. Why don't you explain that to people? What is the stacked list for you? What makes that bucket?
Yeah. So, and it's kind of like it sucks because I'm so against like stacked data in general, just because it's like an industry faddish thing and it's
Mm,
hard to break outside of those, but it's like what everyone knows. Um, but like stacked data essentially is we're uploading data from our county, we're uploading data from listsource and all these different locations in REI Sift, and it's cleaning up that data. It's separating out companies, it's separating out trust, and it's separating out anything missing zip codes or incomplete data. So we're
mm,
left with just clean data. We can
yep.
still use that other data once we get it how we need it. We have that clean data. So what we consider a stacked bucket is we filter by properties that are on two or more lists, be it high equity tax delinquency or probate tax delinquency, whatever. And we filter vacant property, no.
Mm,
And the reason why we do that is because we're going to have a separate vacant bucket. So I don't want to double spend my money. I want to segment those out and have a marketing campaign here and a marketing campaign here. There still could be stacked properties in vacancy data. It's just our core thing we're focusing on is the vacancy flag.
mm.
So we export both of those, and then those become separate local audiences inside Facebook.
Cool. Dude, that's so smart. And I want people to capture what we're doing here. Cause as we go into more and more competitive markets, I think a lot of people are just sticking with, what worked 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And just like this one marketing method, just Facebook ads or just this or just that. And I think the last couple of years, the term omni-channel marketing has popped up a lot. And essentially omni-channel marketing is a fancy way for saying just like get marketing in front of those best prospects in multiple different ways. Direct mail piece, those highest value leads that you said, the stacked ones, and then also try to find them on Facebook. And the cool thing about it is from the perspective of that seller, right? They get a piece of mail in, they hadn't heard of you, probably. They see the phone number, they might go to the website, cool. And then all of a sudden they see an ad on Facebook or Instagram. For them, they're like, wow, this is like a really professional, great company. I see them everywhere. They must be legit, they must be good. And you're serving them up testimonials through those Facebook ads. I'm sure we'll kind of dig into this a little bit, but over time they start to go, oh, you're building authority and trust with them. When a lot of your competitors, they might just make the cold call or just drop the direct mail or just have someone go to their website, but then they're not following up with them in different formats. So you stand out in a big way. Dude, so
Right.
what are you serving up on your Facebook ads? What types of ads are you put in front of them?
So generally we're serving me in front of the houses.
Mhm,
I'm showing myself in front of houses, walking through the house, showing what, different properties are very organic.
mm,
Like, hey, this is the property we just closed on. Sometimes I'll mention the situation, how we bought it cash. And anybody, if you feel like doing it, go to Florida Cash Real Estate page on Facebook and just scroll down to our page transparency tab and you can actually see my images, and they're super organic. One of them, my beard's really messy, and one of them, I'm more cleaned up, wearing my watch with my, nicer shirt. It's a little bit of everything. And then I
Mm.
also bring my team into it. So you'll see one of my videos is actually my acquisitions manager. She's in there and she's got our shirt on, and we're just kind of like playing around with it, seeing which is converting better.
Cool.
But in either case, it's always like, hey, this is who we are. This is very non-confrontational. We're looking just to help you out, no matter whether you want to sell to us or you're just curious what the difference is between selling to us and an agent.
Hmm.
But we can help you out no matter what it is. If you want to sell your house, we do have agents we do work with. And then we summarize it with, we got cash, we are looking to sell. Just give us a call for no hassle, just conversation, even if you just want to say hi.
Yep.
So it's just very low key. And then we do have a couple that I think are just images of some houses we've closed on.
Cool.
Um, the one thing that you mentioned that whenever it's kind of mentioned, I always like to kind of talk about it just a tad bit, and that's like the idea of like the thought process of moving into like a new marketing cycle, like Omni
Mm.
marketing and things like that. And by marketing in all the different ways that I market, it's not that my marketing is really expensive. I only spent roughly 30,000 this year in marketing. It's that I'm just putting the marketing dollars, and I'm attentive to where my money's going. I'm not just like downloading lists from list source and skip tracing them and not tracking what's happening.
Yep.
I'm tracking the things like, what's happening with the properties I don't get phone numbers back from, because if I don't get phone numbers back from them, from these three different skip tracing services, that means I'm not reaching them at all.
Ah.
I don't go out and buy more data. I find out how I can reach those people, to make sure I can make my marketing dollars go as far as possible.
Mm.
And another point I wanted to make when it comes to the Facebook ads and the Carrot website and that sequence is anytime we close a deal, we always take that deal and run it through all of our marketing channels to figure out, did they ever, did they have a phone number? Are they being cold called? Are they not
Mm.
being cold called? And in that situation, not of the deal that we just talked about, but one previous to that we closed about a month ago. I think it was like 53 grand or whatever it was. It was an SEO one,
Mm.
and that was actually SEO. It was divorce situation, and that individual, the lady that did live in the property here, because he lived in North Carolina, we have been cold calling her.
Mm.
She has not been answering. But because we have a web presence, we were found, and all of our marketing channels weren't working, but that was still there to catch it. So it's kind of
Gotcha.
like, I think about, I want to be here in 15, 20 years from now. I'm not
Yep.
about this, I want to make money to next month. I want to make money in 50 months.
Mm. Dude,
So
I love it, man. So what's you had mentioned those last couple of deals, and you'd mentioned 30 grand that you'd invest into marketing this year. To give people context, like what's the scale of your business now? What's your team look like? If you don't mind sharing, kind
yeah.
of what's the revenue look like at the top line?
Yeah. So we are, I think, 6 people right now. We have
Mhm.
me, an admin VA, acquisitions, a lead manager, a TC. I brought a partner in 2019. Jake, he handles all of our commercial stuff and private money
Cool.
and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's 6 people right now. Um, no, we have one cold caller and SMS. She manages both, so that's
Mm.
7. And as far as revenue wise, we're over 7 figures, of 30,000 roughly in ad spend.
Mhm.
Right now, we're focused really heavily on like not so much like doing a ton of cold calling. We're really building that evergreen. I talked to you about the whole king carrot thing, like
Yep.
trying to be a king carrot. And really trying to be on that first page of Florida. I'm not really concerned as much about my area. I'm concerned about, just being a Florida presence and being known as a trusted, real estate company in this state. And so we're dedicating more energy into more blog posts and those types of things. And right now we have like a mobile home park under contract. We have a motel under contract. So we're really kind of moving our energy over into some of these more commercial spaces, and we're
Mm.
using single family residence transactions to kind of funnel the funds to make those deals happen if we're going to keep them.
Love it.
So that's really what we focus on now. My concern is not growing a multiple 7 figure type real estate investment company. It's like it's maintaining below 125,000 annually in overhead period between my salaries, my team salaries, my marketing and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And, making anywhere between 700 and 900,000 from that. And if that happens, I'm super happy. It just so happens that, because of our efforts and the Evergreen and just doing what we're doing, it's just like breaking those barriers.
Dude, so it makes me smile hearing you say evergreen a lot because I've been it's funny like as a business you try to nail positioning and messaging and like what is it that your company really provides, and so I've been toying with a lot of messaging in the past year, and then the evergreen thing hit me about 6 to 8 months ago. I'm like, this is what it is, and how do we make our product just even do this even better? So people can understand, Tyler. For you, why do you resonate with building more evergreen marketing channels, and what does that mean for you? Like what does that look like, your ideal evergreen machine?
Yeah, so for me, it's education, right? It's education to my consumers. We're focusing even more heavy on that in REI Sift side.
Hmm.
It's like, how can I provide value to individuals without asking them for money?
Yep.
So how can I put it out there? So right now, I'm working on content on video wise to start running on Facebook on how do you get out of foreclosure without selling your home, like
Mm.
those types of situations. Like I want people to know about us,
Yep.
not to work with us immediately, but just know that we're here for when they do want to sell in 2 years from now or 3 years from now.
Mm.
I want them to be able to, if they ever run across anybody, to mention, oh, I seen this post about this. Like I just want, I was just telling someone yesterday, and you're talking about nailing your positioning, right? Like carrots and orange is not, it is carrot now. It's not the food I
Yep.
eat. I don't even eat carrots, but I make money from them.
Yep. I love it.
It's kind of like it's that's what we want. And I want those in two different things. When someone thinks about selling their house locally, I want them to think of, Florida Cash Real Estate. Even though we're a we buy houses company, we are a value driven we buy houses
Mm.
company.
I love it.
And anytime anyone thinks of a ninja, I don't want them to think of Ninja Turtles. I want them to think of REI Sift,
Yep.
right? So it's like,
Yep.
how do you do that? The only way to do that is to put in a lot of front end work over time and build that trust and that that integrity in your market. And if you do that and you don't change the things that you say every 30 days and they realize that you're genuine, like it just happens compounding. And we're starting to see the results of that now, you know, um, not only in REI Sift, but in the Florida Cash Real Estate. So um,
Dude, that's so important, right? And this is what I want everyone listening to this to get, because there are methods that Tyler can go out and do and ramp up. They're going to get deals today, and he can do it, and he is doing those, right? Like that's something I always tell people: don't stop doing hamster wheel. Just like don't build your business so you have to. And
right.
then hamster wheel marketing is icing on the cake, or it's to get greater demand. It's activating a larger volume of leads and stuff, because your evergreen, your inbound is going to be a lower volume in general versus like activating people with outbound cold calling, direct mail, all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be a lot more highly targeted. It's people coming to you. It's the steady flow of people coming to you, where you don't have to always hit them up with a new cold call every week or every month. But then that stuff helps with the omni channel. So, dude,
Yeah.
I love it, man, because you've got the long term mindset. You're proving it out with some amazing deals where those people are crazy motivated and they're working with you because of all the content you're putting out there. And I think that's the one key a lot of people don't get is they look at marketing as marketing. Marketing is like me trying to get someone to do business with me right now. And Evergreen is more about like Tyler said, how do we put out marketing that doesn't feel like marketing? How do we put out marketing that is going to be around for months and years? And that's usually content. It's answering people's questions. It's putting that video post through our carrot feature called Video Post, taking that 5-minute video that talks about how to sell a house you inherited in Pinellas County, and then uploading it. And they see your face, they see your content, they see your education, they see that you're honest, trustworthy, you're adding value, not just a used car salesman pitching to to buy a home. And so
Right.
that's how we start to change the the reputation of a lot of this industry as well, and in the real estate agent industry, is not going out there with that kind of bloodthirsty closing deals mindset. That's going to work great in the short term, but long term that always has the boom and bust. But going after it with the long term mindset, man, I love to hear that, dude. Love it.
I was going to mention, because I forgot to mention it earlier, about the whole after carrot camp thing, right? And being evergreen for me, something I've taken from being like Evergreen and just taking from like Carrot Camp and in general, and I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but as soon as I got back from Carrot Camp, there was a few deals that I knew were commercial deals locally that we had in the pipeline that they weren't on a contract. They were just leads that we had. So I said, I knew of one specifically that I would be the perfect one. And we called him, and we've been nurturing that dude for like a year and a half or something like that. And we called him, and since COVID and everything, we ended up locking up a commercial building. It's about 500 or 5,000 square foot.
Hmm.
And that's going to be REI Sift's office and Florida Cash
Oh,
Real Estate's
dude.
office. Yeah. So we're building that office presence. So for me, it's like, from the impact that I want to make and how I want to be evergreen, not only in my marketing, but in my physical presence and in creating workshops for homeowners to come in and learn more about real estate and just even educating about investing in general.
Hmm.
That's some of the other efforts that I think like I've taken in and really realized that's important to me in my local community. Right. And I think, and I feel really strongly about that in itself, making more impact, like long term. It's
Hmm.
going to cost more money and everything right now, but I know that there's a lot of people around here that would really benefit from it. So it's like, I don't know, evergreen to me is adapted into more than just from drinking water to like it's kind of like the word that kind of fits for me in a lot of different ways.
Yep. I love it, man. So the last few minutes here, I definitely we've talked about REI Sift a good bit throughout here. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like wonder what the heck is REI Sift. And so first of all, you guys can go to his website, REI Sift. So SIFT.io. I don't make any money sending you there. They have an amazing service. I'm sure we have a lot of customers that are mutual customers of ours. But
Yep.
if you had to kind of boil it down, dude, like what is the value play that you have with REI Sift that if someone were to plug this into the business, uh, you know, what would they experience and what's the value they'll get back out of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I always tell people, and it's kind of like our probably things that you struggle with kind of initially too. It's like becoming an REI SIF user is about a commitment to your business, is a
Mm,
commitment to understanding marketing.
yep.
We have educational content to kind of teach people how do you take this information, this data that you're intaking into your business, and how do you market to it in all the right ways
Mm,
to get the best results out of that data. Some people spend, you might be listening to this and you might be thinking like, well, I only have like $300 a month to dedicate to my real estate company. I'm trying to get out my W-2. And what hurts me inside is that being like a dad and all is like you'll go out and instead of saving that $300 in your bank account, you go and you spend it in data, and then you call it one time and then you throw it away when that could have been something you could have kept in your account for 12 months and then
mm,
had like a little nest egg. So it's like I care strongly about people using their money how it should be used. And that's really what REISIF is all about, is like intaking data into their business and then pushing it out there to build a solid, we talk about being sales and marketing ninjas, but I also have another analogy that I talk about, like, a Viking boat, right? Like your marketing should be like a Viking boat. It should be able
mm,
to push through the oceans and not be affected. Vikings like sailed the seas and they made it to destinations. What they did after that is a whole nother story, but let's ignore that and let's just focus on the fact that their ships were amazing. And they, and your marketing needs to be the same way. And that's kind of what we focus on. It's like, how can you do some of this direct to seller marketing through cold calling or SMS to the right people while still building the evergreen side? And how can you use that data to bolster your Carrot websites, for
mhm,
example, and do the Facebook ads and it's more about building something that's going to last for a long time, not a fly by night wholesaling company or investment company. It's like, we're all doing this because we have a purpose, whether it be to build rentals or do whatever. And that's what our focus is, and um, our challenges are probably the biggest thing that gets that result right away, kind of
yep.
step by step, kind of like how your challenges is does doing the same thing. And yeah, I think that's the best one. You're going to save a bunch of money and you're going to make more money and save ROI. That's like the ultimate thing.
Dude,
Um,
even on your pricing page, like I think these words say it all. And so if you're listening to this and if you're buying data right now, right? If you're buying data from list source or any of those, your county sources or whatever, and you're putting them in places, what REI Sift is going to do, like Tyler's saying, it's helping to make sure that you're not having to buy more and more data thinking that the list you just bought is not working because you've got all these data sources in different spots. You're not really sure, did we call that person? Have they answered back? Have we actually marketed that person, whatever? But at the top of your pricing page, it says, stop wasting time buying more and more data. Close sales by making sense of the property data you already have. Never waste another dollar manually, cross-checking property lists or marketing to the same unqualified leads over and over. And that's the key,
Yep.
y'all, is you guys might be marketing to the same leads over and over again that might not be qualified. How do you use a tool like REI Sift to hone in on those ones from the data sources you're buying that are the most qualified, that are the best? And then, like you said, use that strategy, pull those ones that are really high quality, that list, that stacked list, and then upload them into Facebook as a really good audience, and then do a lookalike audience on those to find more like them, drive them to your Carrot site. And then now you've got this really amazing omni-channel marketing approach working great. So Tyler, dude, I'm excited about what you're doing. I really encourage people to go there. You have an amazing challenge over there that you guys do. Is it monthly that you guys are doing that? Is it the auto lead
Yeah,
gen
we are
challenge?
doing it monthly by
Cool.
demand. Actually, I was only planning on, I was planning on taking off November and December. That's not happening. Like
Mm.
there's too many people like messaging us on our intercom chat.
Yeah, I love it. Well, guys, I want you guys to go there, reisift.io. Check it out. They have their auto lead gen challenge that they do every single month where they walk you through the process. And it's a lot of mindset stuff too, which is really cool. And Tyler, man, I'm pumped that you guys are crushing it. You've got a 7-figure real estate business. I'm proud to be a part of the journey with you, and be a part of the success you've had. That's really cool watching you build the software company from the ground up, literally from the time you messaged me on Instagram and started the thing to now. It's been amazing seeing the growth, and just so pumped
Appreciate
for you,
it.
man. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
it's kind of funny because the original mock-ups of REI Sift were drawn on Carrot sticky notes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So yeah, but dude, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. If there's any way I can provide value to anybody, I'm an open book.
Awesome. Well, guys, check it out, reisift.io. Tyler's also got an amazing podcast. What's the name of the podcast, Tyler?
Allies to Prosperity is the podcast. Is one that you were on, and you can find that on iTunes, on our website, on a blog, and then we also have another one. Uh, which we kind of sniped from Carrot a little bit too. You guys can tell that I'm a huge Carrot fan. Called the Ninja Cast,
Cool.
and that's where we show all of our success stories, kind of like what we're doing right now.
I love it. Well, guys, gals, go subscribe to us over on YouTube, subscribe to us over on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this, and go follow Tyler. He's an amazing example, amazing business operator, and appreciate that, guy. You guys have an amazing rest of the week. Tyler, thanks for joining us, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.